Okay, Zach. So I'm super excited to talk to you today. There's a lot of changes going on in the market, and we want to help people avoid making the mistakes, especially here in Utah. There are some hot cities. You've got Lehigh, Harriman, you've got Bountiful and Farmington. You've got so many fun cities in all the different areas where things are really shifting. So I wanted to take advantage today to talk to you about what mistakes we're seeing buyers make so that we can help them avoid those mistakes. So thanks for talking with me today.
Love it. So the number one mistake that I'm seeing right now is buyers going out and being like, "Okay, let's go to this open house or let's go look at a couple different houses, just to get a feel for the market." And they do this before getting fully approved. Now, the sad part about this is sometimes we'll have people go out there thinking, "Hey, I can afford X amount of house." And they fall in love with the perfect house, the neighborhood, the schools, everything like, "Oh, this is just the perfect one. We want it." And we then come back to them. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh man, unfortunately, like this is like $50,000 out of range from what you can, purchase and get qualified for." And so then they have disappointment and they just feel like, "Oh man, we're spinning our wheels." But the truth is, if we can get the pre-approval, which they're so fast, like we can do a desktop underwriter approval within like under an hour typically. And that just gives us a lot more confidence and okay, we've got credit scores, we know what income looks like, we know what debts look like, go make that offer even off of a, level two of pre-approval.
Well, and
And
it's really
so,
important for me as the agent to know all this information because I have to know what direction I'm going to go to negotiate for them. And if they're not
right.
pre-approved, I don't understand pieces of the puzzle that can then hurt us. So, yeah, absolutely. Getting pre-approved is number one.
Love it. Mistake number two that we're seeing is obsessing over rate. So, I mean, with a few different things, right? There's the Iran conflict that's kind of come together over the last 20, 21 days. And then you've got the Fed meetings and this and that. And so sometimes there's volatilities in the market, right? Sometimes rates will go up, they'll come down the next week. And so sometimes when people obsess over the interest rate, they miss the big picture of how are we structuring the loan and the process and everything about it. So right now we're seeing some sellers are getting a lot of money in seller credits. Sometimes they're able to negotiate 2 to 3%, and so that can go into rate buy downs. It can even go into like temporary rate buy downs that are super helpful, where you can buy it down 2% the first year, another 1% the second year, and then years 3 through 30 it goes back to the original interest rate. But overall, I think this is the important thing is once somebody gets pre-approved, we kind of dig in deep into strategy as far as, okay, what's the strategy we want to go with that gets you kind of the best overall loan structure for what's going to accommodate you over the next few years. And so that's another thing that we're seeing a lot of.
Well, and I love when we have smart buyers, when we have buyers that are actually like they're understanding that now is the time to get in the market. So, it's hard because how often do we have the conversation? I'm sure you get this every day is like, what's the market like? Or when's it going to be? When are the rates going down? Or when are the prices going down? And the honest answer is like prices are not going down. They've been stabilized, but they're not going down. And as far as rates, that's anybody's guess, right? They go down, they pop up, they go down, they pop up, but they're down compared to what people were scared of. They're not at 8% anymore. They're not at 7% anymore. So that's great. And right now really is the perfect time to get in because you can actually have a little bit more choices of inventory. Regardless of what people are feeling, we are in a seller's market. That means by definition, it has to do with inventory, right? We have more buyers than there are houses available. The reason why we're not feeling that is because so many buyers are fence sitting. 25% of buyers are just waiting for the right moment, waiting for the perfect market. So those buyers that we're working with that are smart, they're jumping in now. They're getting the best opportunity because I'll tell you that we're starting to see multiple offers again. And having a professional, multiple professionals on your side is also really important too, because if I have someone who really needs to, they just don't have their closing costs, they just don't have the perfect down payment, they need help, then we can go in there and negotiate on certain homes because if a home is sat for, 90 days, there's going to be some opportunity to make some negotiation. But also knowing our numbers, being pre-approved, jumping in the market, we can also be competitive if there are multiple bids. I'm not seeing anything crazy like 10 offers, but you and I are working with a client right now. We've made an offer and an offer came in on our tail. So, I mean, there are definitely multiple offers that are happening in today's market. But there I I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, I am so sad I bought today. I wish I would have waited longer." But I've heard everybody say, "If only I would have bought," you know, and it's always in the past. I mean, you and I would have loved to have gotten multiple homes in 20 or 2007, right? Or 2008. Wasn't that like they're probably 2008, 2009, but
Right.
regardless, I waiting for the perfect market is it's unpredictable. We never know. But I will tell you that right now, if you're looking at a home in Utah and you want to get in, whether you're looking in Farmington or North Salt Lake, or if you're looking in Lehigh, Harriman, Salt Lake City, Sugar House, wherever, let's talk about it now. Let's get prepared. Let's get ahead of the game.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard it said before, it's not timing the market, but it's time in the market. Because we look at real estate, and if you say, hey, look, we're going to buy this, we're going to hold it for 5, 10, 15 years, we can, with a really high level of confidence, say, okay, that's going to be a good investment long term. We know this is going to appreciate about this pace, and we never know exactly how it comes in, but we know, the longer we're in the real estate market, the better it pays out on dividends.
Well, and it's really interesting because I heard a statistic the other day. There was a economical overview in Utah, and they were saying that people who bought their house in 2007, which was like the height of the market before the crash,
Mm-hmm.
those people now have an average of 103% equity in their house. 103% equity. That's average. And people who bought their house in 2013, they have an average of like 143% equity. So, you know, there are certain times. Now, these last couple of years, if you bought 2 years ago, you might be kind of steady. And even 4 years ago, not a ton, but there are these peaks and valleys that it does make sense to hold properties.
Right. It's a good hedge against inflation as well as what I feel. So
Absolutely.
it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Now, as far as another thing we're seeing is sometimes people are leaving money on the table when it comes to negotiations. Now, Jan and I talked a little bit about this because we're like, man, sometimes there's no room to negotiate. Like we had one last night that was going under contract, and there were 3 offers in on it in Orem, and we basically had to go in and say, hey, we're willing to pay asking price, and we're not going to ask for any closing costs. And that's how it goes sometimes, right? It's a
Yep.
turnkey property, barely hit the market. But we're still happy we got it under contract, and
Yep.
we felt like it was still a win. And then other properties we're seeing, if they're sitting 30, 60, 90 days on the market, sometimes we're able to go in there and get $10,000, $15,000 in closing costs to be able to do buy downs and different things like that. And so uh, can't emphasize enough how important it is to use like a true professional like Janet that really knows how to go in there, negotiate properly, and make sure that we're not leaving thousands of dollars on the table. I think the saddest story I experienced was last year. We had an investor who was, purchasing a property in Utah County, and they didn't ask for any closing costs, but there were also other offers on the table. Like we were the only
Mm,
offer, and we went in there and offered
yeah.
asking price. And after it went under contract and we received it, I was like, man,
Yeah.
we probably could have gotten anywhere from 8 to 10,000, and that was what we left on the table just because we didn't ask, we didn't, get that. And so no fault of our own, but
Yeah.
unfortunately
When
the buyer had to cover that on his own.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important for the buyers to understand the process because your initial offer is your initial offer, and you don't know the condition of the roof, of the HVAC. There are things that we don't know. So our offer is in good faith that, hey, everything's working, everything has life to it. So there is this new negotiation that comes up again when you're looking at your inspection. So it's very sad. I mean, there are buyers out there that don't understand the process and they don't even have an inspection. So they're just basically taking the property, not understanding that there is that additional negotiation once you've gone under contract. to be able to say, hey, Mr. Seller, this roof no longer has life. We've gotten a bid, and the roofer is saying, like, there's not enough life. So, just happened with my buyers in Ogden. Their roof was toast. And the seller was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And so we ended up getting three bids. Three different roofers said, I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, your roof is original. Your house was built in 1995. You have no more life on your roof. So then at that point they had to concede and say, okay, we agree. We're gonna have to give you some money for the roof, right? So we're able to, you can lower the price, you can negotiate that they replace the roof, or you can ask that they give it to you in the form of like credit towards closing costs. And that is money that can get left on the table for sure. Yeah.
Love it. Now, another thing that we're seeing a lot is sometimes like buyers only have their 3 to 4 or 5% down that they have. And the biggest thing, Jenna and I don't love it when people use all of their savings just to get into the home. We know that there's going to be things that pop up with home ownership, like maybe your HVAC or a water heater, different things like that, that we want to make sure you always have a little bit of extra reserves there. And so that's another thing is, don't just save up just the down payment, always give yourself a little bit of buffer because that's just a part of being a homeowner, I would say.
Yeah, well, and of course, like we try to negotiate a warranty. That's another point of negotiation, but warranties don't cover all things, all specs aspects of all things. And as a homeowner, you no longer can go to the landlord and say, I need you to fix this. Like you're your own landlord. So so you do need to have a little bit of a cushion for sure. Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, Zach, I agree 100% that if you want to be a smart buyer in 2026, you definitely want to get pre-approved first. And the Asbel team is phenomenal to help you get that process done. They do have in-house underwriting, which is really, really great because they have someone they can go to and get files verified quickly and efficiently so that we know that when they say that we're approved, we're approved. And then we really do need to understand those exact costs. Like, what are your monthly payments going to be? What are your closing costs going to be? So that we can make sure that you're not over purchasing, so you're not house poor. And then also, like, negotiating with confidence. Once you are confident, I am confident, we become this great team, a force to be reckoned with, and we can go out there and get the house that you want. And we want to do the very best. Zach and I, both of us, want to protect your reserves. We want to help you to get in the house that you will love, that will help you have sustainability for the future and work towards retirement. So thanks, Zach, so much for talking with me today. I appreciate you and your services, and I can't wait to help more clients this year because it's a hot one for sure. It's a great market to
Love it.
get into.
Yep. Here's to a great 2026, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks.